Morning, everyone, and welcome to our first of many Forge chats here with the Lightning Forge Games team. Uh, Apologies if you're planning on watching this on Twitter. For some reason, it didn't want to work, but yeah, we'll sort it out. But yeah, we are live on YouTube. Looks like it's all working. For those who don't know who I am, my name is Marty, also known as Alcatraz. I am the CEO of Lightning Forge Games, a brand new game studio founded this year in Australia. How are we doing today, gentlemen?
Doing well, doing well. Good to be here. You're
You're
muted,
you're
guys.
muted, Draz.
Sorry, guys. Yep, I'm good. Thank you very much. Yep,
Yeah.
good to be back.
No, this is good. Like let's make sure we get all the little technical things out of the way now, and then
Yeah.
then we can get stuck straight into it. Um,
Yes.
yeah, I have no idea why Twitter didn't work, but it happens.
Episode 2.
Cool. Yeah. Yeah, cool. Do you guys want to just do a quick intro on that, and yeah, we'll get the show on the road.
Yeah, sure. Let's jump into it. Hey everyone. I'm Johnny slash Hitbox, Chief Creative Officer at Lightning Forge Games. With 17 years experience in art production across film, TV, and games. I've worked on some notable IPs like Star Wars, Assassin's Creed, Hitman, and Diablo 2 Remastered. Previously at Rainy Studios, working on the Lords of Light, and now here at LFG, making kick-ass games.
Well, at least one kick-ass game
At least
to
one,
start.
yeah,
Yeah,
kick-ass game.
yeah, we're not gonna commit to more than one game just yet. We'll start with one, and then we'll go from there. Draz, for I don't know if anyone doesn't know who you are, but just in case someone doesn't.
It's entirely possible, mate.
Yeah.
I'm Draz or Ray, just a community member. I've been started with Rainy, I suppose, back in the early days, and we used to do the AMAs with the guys, answering all the community questions and things. And I'm just following the talent across to LFG and just helping the guys out wherever I can.
Yeah. And yeah, thank you so much for helping. Obviously, we did a lot of the AMAs back with Rainy.
Yep.
And yeah, couldn't imagine doing an AMA without you anymore. So yeah, we're just gonna drag you along for the ride and go from there.
Yeah, sounds
Yeah.
good.
Always fun having Draz.
Yeah,
Oh,
cheers.
absolutely.
Thanks, guys.
For anyone who doesn't
Excellent.
know who I am, yeah, like I said, my name's Marty. So yeah, I've been, like I said, similar to Johnny. Previously, was the studio lead at Rainy Studios, working on the Lords of Light. Prior to that, I've spent at least a decade plus. Got too many years, God. I love how we're wearing hats to cover up our receding hairlines. Just saying. But yeah, worked in games for a very long time. Predominantly working in the mobile free-to-play space as a consultant. I've worked on everything. My resume is nowhere near as illustrious as Johnny's, but I've worked on everything from single-person indie projects right through to large AAA. Probably the biggest game I've worked on that is publicly announced and released would be Moving Out 2 that came out, I think it was late last year for Christmas on most platforms. There are some games I've worked on that I'm under NDA for that haven't come out yet, and some that I've worked on that will never come out because they've been cancelled, which kind of sucks in the gaming industry. And is potentially one of the reasons why working in the Web3 space is just so much better, because we get to be very public, very transparent, and very open with our community about everything that we actually do, which is pretty cool.
It is. It's pretty unprecedented. I think the access that a community has to the founders of a project in Web3 compared to just normal operational
Yeah,
businesses.
absolutely. I mean, I've said this all along. It's such a breath of fresh air. I mean, Johnny, you'd be in the same boat here. Like, you work on so many projects where you're literally under NDAs. You're working on it for years before the game is even announced. Like, there's a game that's, I mean, Johnny, we've got friends still working on this game now that I worked on before I even started at Rainy Studios, so several years ago. It hasn't even been announced yet, and they're still like heads down. It's going to be an amazing game when it comes out, and I can't wait to talk about it when it comes out. But I probably shouldn't start our very first Forge chat by breaking an NDA. So
Yeah,
yeah,
it's a completely different environment, right? From like say traditional games or traditional VFX, where you lock yourself up in a room, you spend 6 months to 12 months in pre-production, then a couple of years in production, and then you start gearing up and getting the marketing engine going. In the crypto space, we get to build along with the community. And, if you've been following us, if you've been on our Discords or on our Twitters, should I call it X, on our X's, um,
Yeah.
you'll see the stuff that we're sharing with everyone. And yeah, we just get to bring the community along for the ride. Um, Draz has been a big fan of all the work so far, so it's always good to share with the team.
Yeah, I get to see some sneak peeks, which is great.
Yeah, so obviously, yeah, we drop as much as we can on a variety of places. If you follow us on our Discord, you'll see some stuff being popped up there. We drop things occasionally on Twitter, on Telegram. Even if you dive into our new website that launched a few days ago, you might find some little sneak peeks in there as well. So we do everything we can to be as just open and transparent. We want to have the community join us on this journey as we build, launch, and then run a live ops title, being GTFO, Grand Tactics Final Order. You would have seen the dancing frost giants pop up
Yeah.
last week. I swear we take ourselves seriously most of the time. But yeah, it's always really fun, especially working on something like GTFO, where we're creating this really just rich ecosystem or really like deep narrative lore around all of these different factions coming together in this epic battle, where we get to create all these different characters, all these different units and stuff like that, all the heroes that we'll be starting to drop some more stuff about those soon as well. And then yeah, especially as a creative, once you get to see them start to get animated, they're textured, they're rigged, just getting to see something that started out as a piece of concept art that you signed off on, and watching it go from that to something running around in a game engine is just, it's an incredible process. And if you do enjoy being in the I guess in the GameFi space, I think is what we're meant to call it these days. I don't know. We'll find a different name for it next week, probably, the way the space moves so quickly. Yeah, I really hope you enjoy coming along for the ride with us. And just, yeah, I mean, GTFO, the actual original design document that is now GTFO, was started in 2018. This is a game that has been in the back of our minds for many, many years. It's been something that we felt there was a demand for, a need for in the market, both in the Web 2 and the Web 3 space. Honestly, and we've alluded to this before. I know, Draz, I know I've spoken to you about this. This is a game that we just didn't have the technology ready to go until literally 2024. All the sort of pieces of the puzzle are coming together to enable a team such as ours to build a game as ambitious as GTFO. So yeah, being able to do that with our community, with the thousands of followers on Twitter, I think almost 1,000 people we've got on our Discord right now as well. It's gonna be a hell of a ride.
The sort of technology you're talking about that has just come about this year, is that mostly to do with the AI aspect of things, or something to do with
Um,
Unity, or
Oh yeah, well,
outside?
let's dive into the questions, I guess. Yeah, it's interesting. There's actually like there's three pieces to the puzzle that are really coming together at the moment to sort of build what we build. And I'm not saying we couldn't have done it, in 2018. Um, it would have taken a much larger team and a lot more money to do it back then compared to today. But especially on the scope that we're building it. So there's sort of three key pillars. One of those is Unity 6. So Unity are in the process of dropping, I've got to say, the biggest update to their engine, I think, ever. Johnny, I can't think. Like maybe the 2017 was probably the other big update. That was when they went from Unity 5.6 to the yearly naming they did for Unity. And it's like that brought in like actual like prefab editors and nested prefabs and stuff like that. Like 2017 was a huge jump forward for the technology running Unity. Unity 6, so this year. So they're not calling it 2023, 2024 anymore. They're just calling it like Unity 6. So this is the big milestone release for Unity. This is probably, yeah, like I said, the biggest update, especially on the graphics and fidelity side of things. The team over there are literally working magic. I don't know how they're doing it. We've had test scenes that we open in, say, the latest, what we call LTS branch, which is the long-term branch that we normally would build a game on. So like the 2022.3 and stuff like that. We've had a scene that we've basically just ported straight over the Unity 6, ticked a box in the editor settings, and we're getting 50% increased performance on device. So a game that would be running at like 40 FPS is now running at a smooth 60 FPS. That's insane. Especially that with their focus with the scriptable render pipelines. Sorry if I go a little bit too technical here. Maybe Johnny can explain it in layman's terms a little bit, what like SRP is and stuff like that. But the stuff they've done there, especially for optimizing performance on mobile and on cross-platform devices, then you combine what they're doing on the WebAssembly, WebGL front, where now you've got 4 gig of RAM to work with. You can do like downloadable apps through a web version of the game and stuff like that on mobile. There's just a lot of pieces coming together that really let us build a true cross-platform experience that runs on everyone's devices, that allows us to build the sort of epic scale game that GTFO wants to be and that we're trying for. I know we've had questions before of like, oh, with GTFO, how many units will we have on each side of the battlefield? And the answer we've given at the moment is hundreds. Because at the moment, that's a number that we feel safe in saying that we can get running on people's devices. But the way we're building the engine, and I'll get to the engine there too, and the way that Unity is now improving their performance so much with Unity 6 on those like low to mid-range devices. Like if you've got the latest iPhone 15 Pro, you're fine. And in the nicest possible way, we don't care about you for this level of work. We care about the people, maybe in developing nations running the game on $100 Android phone and stuff like that, or someone who's playing on their computer, but the computer was built back when I had a full head of hair. Those are the devices that, for a game like GTFO, we need to be targeting, because that's how we're going to get 1 million users into the game. Not everyone, unfortunately, has an iPhone 15 Pro or whatever the latest Samsung, that weird foldy crap that they do. I'm not a fan of it personally; it just feels weird to me. But anyway, that's their decision, not mine. Making sure the game is highly performant for low to mid-range devices is critical for us. Just being able to really like have super wide adoption for GTFO and really penetrate into the Web 2 space. So that's the first part. Second is the deterministic game engine that we're building. So I say we're building. We're working with some really good partners. If you've watched some of my really old pre-Rainy Studios YouTube videos, where I would just get on there for like an hour and I would just techno babble about random stuff, you've probably got an idea of who we're working with for that. But basically, we're working with a company that already has built a sort of multiplayer framework that has a level of determinism built in. We are taking that core tech and expanding it into a full engine that we can use for GTFO. The reason why that's really important, for a variety of reasons, actually, I'll go back afterwards and I'll explain what GTFO is, and we have to like splice some stuff around here in some videos, because I just realized we just dove straight into this. We haven't actually explained for people new to LFG what GTFO actually is. But by having a full deterministic engine, one, we can actually run the engine in the cloud. So, for example, if we ever suspect someone of cheating, we can literally just spin up an AWS like EC2 instance, and we can run the match that they had in a secure environment super easy. We can just literally run the .NET runtime. And because it's separated from the visual layer, so this engine runs like in a separate like layer below Unity. Unity is just being used for us for the visuals and the graphics and the FX and stuff like that. What that actually lets us do is very quickly, we can just basically like press a button, runs the match, checks that the results line up with what both players' devices are confirming for us. And if it is, then cool, they're not cheating. If one player's results don't line up, cool, we're going to go back and run, because it's deterministic, we're just going to run every single match that person has played. And if there's a pattern of just weird inputs or weird outputs here, then we're just going to ban that user for cheating or stuff like that. So it allows us to have that level of control over what's happening. The other sexy part of this, and this is probably, and I don't think we've dropped this before. I know I've mentioned it, Draz, to yourself and some of the other mods. I know I haven't dropped this publicly yet, so this is the first time I've actually spoken about this outside of like meetings with VCs and investors and stuff like that. Because the game runs deterministically, and because we're building an auto battler similar to like Teamfight Tactics or Auto Chess or stuff like that. Let's say, for example, and having a global community, this is a very realistic thing that would happen. Let's say there's a tournament starting at 2 a.m. your local time that you really want to play in. There's a nice prize pool. You've got the perfect army for it. You've been working on your tactics. This tournament is made for you to win. but it's 2 a.m. and you've got work in the morning. Like we're adults, we have lives. Cool. You can register for the tournament, you can set up your army, you can hit the submit button, and you can go to bed. Your army will compete in that tournament for you automatically with all the tactics, all the heroes that you've set up the way you want them to compete. And when you wake up in the morning, you'll have a push notification on your phone saying, hey, you came third in that tournament last night, come back and claim your prizes. And more importantly than that, when you go back in, we'll put together a 30-second highlight reel for you. You don't even have to watch all of the replays of every single match. We'll just put together this perfect little highlight reel of all the epic moments throughout all the matches with a share button for all your favorite social media platforms.
Nice.
So if you want to, brag to all your friends on Twitter, TikTok, I don't know, insert. I'm a boomer. Insert social media platform here that all the kids want to use. Yeah, you'll have that super available and super easy to use. TikTok, yeah, I'd say that one. Snapchat, yeah. So yeah, that's one of the big reasons why we're really focused on building this custom engine to run GTFO, is because not only does it allow us to do a lot of cool stuff on the back end, it allows us to create this really unique experience. I don't know anyone who's doing this in Web 2 or Web 3, where you can actually, especially not in in a game that has play and earn potential right there, where you can literally be doing play and earn activities while you don't have your phone with you or your computer or your whatever other platforms we happen to be on. So yeah, that in itself I think is going to be really exciting. Really
cool.
awesome question. I just saw pop up in the chat. Can you watch matches of other players? Absolutely. There's no reason why you can't, jump in. We can set up a system, in say the main menu where you can see what current like top ranked matches or exciting matches are taking place and jump in and spectate straight away. We can also set up a system where on our website there'll be a replay viewer. So if let's say you had a really awesome match, we'll just literally give you a link. It'll look like lightningforge.game/12345, whatever it happens to be. We'll work that how all that works, and then you can send that link to whoever you want. They'll go to that page. They'll get basically a web-based version of the game where they can just replay with all the replay controls built in. So fast forward, rewind, move the camera around, stuff like that. The beauty of this system, though, is they don't even have to log into anything. They don't have to download anything. They don't have to log in. So if you have a really awesome match and you're trying to tell your friends about GTFO, you can just go, hey, go look at this link. And it takes them straight to it. They can jump straight in and they can see exactly what happened in the match that you're talking about. So being able to share the experience of what you're having with all your friends, with people on social media is awesome. And then being able to have this awesome experience when you may be, people have lives. The real world exists. Maybe you don't have time to play tournaments all day, every day. If you do, great. And there are benefits to being online during a tournament, and being able to, adjust your army mid-flight, move your heroes around, stuff like that. But if it's 2 o'clock in the morning, let's face it, most people are just going to set their army up, set them to auto fight and go to bed. And this is something we really learned from our experience at our past studio, where when you build this global community, you've got to really be conscious of how do you build a system where players from India, players from Europe, players from Australia, players from America can have this even playing field. And we've tried to do it where we try to find the perfect time. Like the amount of times in the past couple of years I've sat there with world time clock open with all the different time zones. I'm trying to find a time that suits everyone. It just doesn't work when you have a global community. It's just the nature of the beast. So let's approach the problem in a completely different way. Let's run tournaments on the hour, every single hour, 24/7, 365, or 366. It's a leap year this year. And you can play when you choose to play. If you're on your device, great, you'll have a really awesome cinematic experience. And if you can't be on your device, you can still compete and you'll find out what happened when it actually finishes.
Pretty awesome and easy to spread the word of it as well. Like you said, if you can share it that easily amongst the socials and things like that, that's fantastic.
Exactly. Having that really visible, that really social, super easy to share. Like I said, we're building the game from the ground up with that in mind. And we have to. Like at the end of the day, you can build the best. I'm not naming any names here, but you can build the best digital TCG that the world has ever seen. And if you can't get the word out about it, if you can't get people playing it, if you can't get it running on everyone's devices easily, it doesn't matter. So GTFO, from the very start, everything we are doing is how do we bring in millions and millions of gamers and just players and people who are interested in this space into this really fun game.
How bullish is that?
Very.
I
How
mean,
bullish is that? So I've heard this pitch now so many times, being with Marty, chatting to VCs, um, and it just gets more bullish every time. Um, what can we talk about on that end, Marty?
The
I mean,
VC stuff.
yeah, I mean, we can definitely say that we've had as a studio, we've had a very successful pre-seed round. Obviously, with this sort of stuff, we can't go into too much details on an AMA. But yeah, like the plan originally was that we were going to be going. I mean, we're going to Token 2049. We've told everyone that, and the plan was we're going to be going there to meet up with people to try and close our pre-seed round. To basically get the studio off the ground, allow us to start hiring, start building the core tech, start getting the ball rolling. The response we had for pre-seed was insane. We closed the rounds way quicker than any of us were expecting. Like the response we had both from people that we know within the Web3 space, as well as VCs from the traditional investing space. We've got a mixture of both in our pre-seed rounds. Has been amazing. From the Web3 side of things, people are just really excited that this is, a game that has the potential of really bringing in such a large quantity of quality users. They want to see players, they want to see transactions on chain, they want to see people, engaging with NFTs, with tokens, with all that good stuff that we love in the Web3 space, where players truly do own their digital assets. And then from the traditional TradFi, I guess is the term, traditional investing side of things, the traditional VC front, we've just had a really positive response of investors who actually have never moved into the Web3 space, but they love what we're doing in sort of bridging that divide by building something which is, free to play, is super accessible. A traditional, free to play gamer can jump in and enjoy GTFO, and then they've got the option of learning more about that Web3 side of things that we sort of build and sort of layer on there as that sort of end game layer, as we sort of move through. They love the fact that the team has a long pedigree in gaming. They love that we've got experience with running live ops games. Even the fact that, when we go in there and we're talking about like our plans, the most common thing that we talk about with our investors at the moment is the date that we are currently aiming for to launch GTFO. And I am not going to even hint at what that is at this stage. It is not in 2024 in any way, shape, or form. I can tell you that. It is definitely this is not this is not a small like cookie clicker game. This is a big game that is ambitious and will take time to build. So I'm just going to make that very clear from the outset. We are never going to drop dates out there if we're not 100% confident we can hit them, because that comes back to that transparency and working with the community. I don't want to give any FUD or give any information that we don't feel we can hit. But they love the fact that we talk about launching the game as step one of the process. We've got 12 factions planned for the game, where we're currently working on the heroes, the units, the art, the lore, the tactics, everything that will be involved for those 12 factions. You're only going to see 4 of them at launch. So, we've got plans for what we're going to be doing for the first 2 years after we launch the game. And when you are launching something in the free-to-play space, when you are launching like a live ops title, this is critical. You've got to have those plans where you're aiming like really far ahead. And we've seen what can happen for some games in like the traditional Web 2 space, and we've seen it a lot in Web 3 as well. If you don't have that plan for, all right, we've got something exciting. We can get people in on day one. We can probably keep them around for a week or two. But how do we keep them coming back day 30, day 60, day 90, day 180? And that's the sort of thing that as a team, we have a lot of experience in how do we build, a series of tournaments, events, live ops, content updates, cosmetics, all those really interesting things that just, there's always something new. There's always something fresh. So yeah, that's probably the big thing that we've had a lot of positive response, again, from VCs and investors on both sides, where they are keen to see what we can do, not just in getting a game to launch, but how do we then build from there over several years? And everything we're doing in our plans, our the funding that we're raising and stuff like that, it's designed around building a sustainable studio, a sustainable ecosystem, so we can just keep doing this for a long time to come.
Pretty impressive, really. and all part of the Seedon ecosystem as well, I suppose. So there's you got a lot of support in that way as
Yeah,
well,
absolutely.
haven't you?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, obviously, we're both from Rainy Studios, which was acquired by Seedon at the end of last year. We've been working with a lot of different ecosystem partners. Obviously, Seedon being one of them. We love and appreciate that when we went to Alex with the idea of like, hey, this we're going to do this. A lot of CEOs or a lot of CEO's Alex's title. Yeah, he's not managing director, he's CEO.
Yeah.
A lot of CEOs were taking that as a negative thing, of like realizing that two of his top people at Rainy were leaving, that were potentially creating a title that would be in competition to what they are doing. But instead, we were met with incredible support. I mean, we even announced Lightning Forge Games on an AMA with Alex. So yeah, at the end of the day, we love and appreciate all the support we've been shown from both Seedon as a company, and then obviously Seedon as a ecosystem, as a community as well. And yeah, we'll be working with them as well as other ecosystem partners that we're chatting to at the moment, and some of which we'll be meeting up with at Token 2049. Because at the end of the day, if we're going to build publicly, we sort of see this world where we need to establish both a minimum viable product and a minimum viable community as we move forward. We see in the Web3 space for what we're building, we see those two things they go hand in hand with each other. We can build the best game you've ever seen. That part I'm confident with, but we are also going to build the most kick-ass community you've ever seen. And like literally at the moment, we are interviewing for head of marketing, head of community, because we know that those roles are so critical to our success, and we know that finding communities we can engage with, finding people who are interested in this space, making them aware of what we're building is such an important part of the journey. So that's it's a really important part of what we are working towards at the moment.
Fantastic.
Amazing.
I was gonna take a little sip of my soy latte with honey here.
So, Jazz, do we have any other questions to go through?
Hang on a sec.
Should we actually do we actually want to just stop for a second and actually tell people what GTFO is? I realize we kind of jumped like head first in, and don't worry, I love it, and obviously I can talk about this for days, and I love the enthusiasm. Johnny, do you want to just touch on GTFO, like for anyone who maybe isn't aware of what we're actually building?
Yeah. And sorry guys, while you're talking about that, is it possible to throw up some of the some of the screenshots and things that you have generated
do you want me to
and put out
sort
there?
the screenshots out and
if you like.
Marty, you can give the GTFO spiel.
Yeah, I think anyone can present. Yeah, I think you can just hit like present down the bottom there, and yeah, you should be able to. Cool. Yeah, maybe don't show the latest.
Just concepts, yeah.
Yeah. Concepts is fine.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Like I said, we share as much as we can, but there's some stuff that's still like, oh god, it's epic though. Anyway, yeah, we can show that in another time. Yeah, cool. So while Johnny's getting that sorted, so yeah, what are we building? Like we've gone into the tech, we've gone into who we are, but why is Lightning Forge Games here? So we're building a game called Grand Tactics Final Order, or GTFO. GTFO is a epic scale auto battler. So if you've seen games like maybe Teamfight Tactics or Auto Chess, they're a really great example of this genre, where you sort of lay out all your units, and then the game sort of plays itself. I always joke around, it's the perfect game for maybe someone like myself who's getting closer to 40 than 30 and doesn't necessarily have the reflexes anymore to play shooters like Fortnite or Call of Duty or CSGO, or CS2 now it's called, but technically, but it's always going to be CSGO in my heart. So yeah, auto battlers are a super fun genre where the focus is much more on you developing your army, upgrading your units, laying out your heroes, and then there you go, Johnny. I'll put that up on screen there.
Cool.
That's one of the Vikings there. Also one of the barbarians, I should say. So yeah, it's really fun genre. It's had a wealth of success globally. It's a very strong genre both in the East and the West. When you're looking at mobile games specifically, you've always got to keep that in mind. There can be quite a big spread in terms of engagement that you get in different parts of the world. Hence the classic, don't build MOBAs if you're targeting the West, because it just does not work, especially on mobile. But Yeah, so it's an auto battler on an epic scale. When we say epic, what we mean is instead of maybe having half a dozen units on each side, um, we're going a little crazy. We're going to try and put hundreds of units on each side of the battlefield. So your army will be led by epic heroes, and then you'll have like all your units basically organized into like squads, sort of working with them. So if you picture it, you might have your barbarian king leading a bunch of berserkers, and then behind them axe throwers or various different units. And oh yeah, got a really cool question there actually from Kiki. Absolutely is the answer there. So the team right now, we're planning on this being a cross-platform release on iOS, Android, PC, Mac, and web. We're not saying that all versions of the game will be on what we call feature parity. So, for example, the web-based version of the game may need to be a cut-down version just due to restrictions and limitations of the platform itself. But at a minimum, there'll be a mobile and a desktop build of the game that will have everything fully unlocked and ready to go. As I mentioned before, the web version, at a minimum, will have that replayer mode built in. So if you want to share matches and replay, you able to jump online and do it there. We're hoping to get them as close to parity as possible. But yeah, obviously building for web is an interesting challenge. But yeah, we're confident we'll be able to get something there. But yeah, definitely mobile and definitely desktop across the board. Thank you so much. That's a really cool question. What makes GTFO really special compared to a lot of other games in the space? And for our next Forge chat, we'll actually grab our head of AI in the chat as well, I think, and have them come in. They can talk on this a little bit more. So with your heroes, unlike most traditional gaming, and especially every auto battler that I'm aware of, that would just use like standard deterministic like logic to determine what it's actually going to do, we're actually going to build a deep reinforcement learning AI model, so a machine learning model that basically controls each of your heroes individually. What that means is that you can actually go in and train your hero based on all of the past matches that it's been involved with. How can we do that really easily? Well, the game's deterministic, so we've got access to all that data just straight out of the box. So again, this is where all the pieces start to tie together, where, why are we putting all this effort into building a deterministic engine to run the game? Well, we actually need that, not just for all the benefits I mentioned earlier, but that data then feeds into the ML training model and actually allows you to train your heroes. So as a really great example, so Draz, let's say you and I both have, epic tier, barbarian kings, just as a complete example here.
Cool.
Because you've battled much more against samurai archers than I have, when you train your barbarian king, he's going to develop tactics and learn how to actually counter them. So when he gets shot at with arrows, he's learned to move out of the way. My king has never seen an archer before, so he doesn't know what to do. He's going to see an arrow and just keep walking forwards because he has no idea what an arrow is going to do to him. But then, obviously, as you play more and more matches, which again is really easy to do when you can play the game while you sleep, and then you choose to train those AI models, your heroes themselves get smarter and smarter and learn different tactics, different strategies. Obviously, when new units and new factions get introduced into the game, you'll then need to train them for how to beat those factions as well. And then the secret sauce. So what we're doing as well, on top of all that, is the actual AI tactics built into your heroes will be tied directly to an NFT, which means you can actually, so in that example where Draz, your heroes has tactics really good against archers and mine doesn't, I can actually say to you, hey Draz, I've got a tournament coming up tonight and I reckon everyone's going to use archers. They're really powerful at the moment. You could actually pluck that tactic out of your barbarian king's brain. We need to work out how we're going to like show this and stuff like that. I don't want something as gruesome as like reaching it and like ripping it out of their brain sort of thing. And you could give that to me or sell it, trade it, whatever you want to do on the secondary marketplace. And I can grab that tactic and I can pop it into my hero, and my hero will basically gain the experience of what your hero had been trained on. So all of a sudden, my hero now knows how to counter archers.
It's very Matrixy, isn't it? Really?
Yeah, it's one of those things. We're still working out how to theme this aesthetically in a fantasy universe that we're building. It would have been super easy if we went down the sci-fi route. We could do like, you jack them in like the Matrix, or you do like chips or stuff like that. We wanted to go fantasy because it's so much better fits the rest of the world that we're building out. So we're still working on how to show this sort of thing. But no, we're pretty excited for how this is all going to play out, because it means that no two matches, even if you had identical armies, with identical heroes, identical equipment, because the tactics would be different, the armies are going to behave in a different way. So no two matches would ever play out the same way, which is really cool. So the actual training of your heroes becomes such a critical part of the whole ecosystem. Training is paid for with the LFG token that will be dropping potentially sometime later this year. We haven't got a date for that lined up just yet. But yeah, it's a very core part of the overall game experience of training your heroes and watching them actually learn and adapt based on the experience they gain as they play more matches. So obviously super important to have them in as many matches as they possibly can be in, and then taking that, and again, we'll make this super easy to do. This will be all be done within the game itself. We're not going to force you to learn how to train, ML models. Let us worry about all that, and making the deal with AWS to spin up the GPUs and all that stuff you have to do to run AI training. We'll make it super easy for you to do yourself within the actual client. One of the cool things actually of the Forge keys that we've announced is Forge keys will actually give you priority training queues for your heroes. So if you are really serious about the game and you want to get in there and have your training be at the top of the queue before everyone else, that's where you'd want to look at Forge keys, amongst a variety of other benefits that Forge keys will give to people in the ecosystem as well. But yeah, basically getting to the front of the queue is a pretty big benefit there, especially when you remember, if you're at the front of the queue and you've trained, maybe, when we drop, faction number 5 after launch, if all your heroes are trained against that faction before everyone else's, that might make some interesting opportunities for, trading with your friends, or, just competing in tournaments, and, having a better army against this new faction that everyone would be playing.
Wow. I mean, there's so many questions about the training aspect of things, but we won't go into the detail of it, obviously. But
yeah, maybe we'll. I'm just going to take another sip of my soy latte with honey, but maybe we'll we'll get our head of AI on the next Forge chat. I'm sure we'll have some interesting questions for him.
Yeah. All right, sweet. I mean, I've got heaps of questions for the AI, but we're too much. But just for example, when you give someone or send your AI tactic that you've developed over to someone, you obviously, like an NFT, you lose the ability for that, and you have to either retrain it. There's no copy sort of ability. Obviously, that would be cheating.
So,
almost.
yeah, you can't. You can't copy a standard AI, a standard tactic. If you are able to get your hero up to a mythic or a mythic level, so the top tier is mythic, which all the one of ones are a top tier mythic. This is for the hero NFTs. We haven't dropped too much about this yet, but yeah, there'll be more details that's coming out. When you're training a mythic tier hero, there is a very small chance that the actual tactic that you are training will duplicate as part of the training. So yeah, if you're training the lower levels, you basically have to, and you want to trade it, sell it, whatever you choose to do with it, then yeah, you're going to have to retrain it, or potentially, maybe you and I, like I said, you're good against archers, I'm good against samurai, we just trade tactics sort of thing. Depending on what we feel the meta is, depending on what, maybe there's a particular tournament coming up where we're confident, what people will be running. So that opens up this whole secondary trading marketplace there, which would be really fun to see how that develops and grows over time. But yeah, if you're training a mythic tier hero, you have that very small chance of basically hitting the jackpot, of where the tactic that you're training will just duplicate. And then you've got that second one to do whatever you want with. Whether you choose to pop that in a different hero that you have, there's the Forge keys there. Or whether you choose to, trade that to a friend or a clanmate or something like that. Or maybe you just go, you know what, I'm just going to sit on this because, I don't want people to have access to these really awesome tactics that I've developed. Especially if it might mean that, can you imagine if you traded, Draz, you traded a tactic to me and I then use that to beat you in the finals of a tournament? Like,
not happy. Wouldn't be happy about that.
So, I think there'll be a lot of interesting, the way that the meta for the game will develop. And again, we've shown, from games we've done in the past, such as the Lords of Light and previous games, that we know how to balance a meta. We know how to keep it fun and exciting. But adding this AI layer on top of that, adds a whole new dimension to how the meta will evolve and grow. Even just sitting back and watching, like, if all of a sudden everyone starts buying tactics that are really good against, I'm trying not to drop names of all the factions. Maybe they've got tactics really good against the Empire. And, all of a sudden you had this really kick-ass Empire army you were going to run in a tournament. Maybe you change your mind. Maybe you swap things around a little bit. So maybe, it'll be interesting to see how the secondary marketplace plays into how the meta evolves and shifts over time.
Well,
That
the
leads
trading of...
into a-
Sorry,
Sorry,
you go.
I was going to say that leads into a great question. When can we start sharing the factions with the community? Because we're super close, and we can't wait to share it. But I think we want to line something up pretty soon.
I mean, we're 30 days out from Token 2049. I can't think of a better place to drop a pretty kick-ass faction reveal.
All right.
Yeah. All right. Let's share
We-
something then.
Maybe we even
That Forge key is a beautiful piece of art. Really, I love it. It's fantastic.
Yeah.
did you
Thanks,
see how
man.
there's the little
It's great.
there's on
LFG
the on the like the teeth. I actually learned that they're called the teeth of a key.
Yeah.
Did you see how it's got the little LFG as it spins around?
Yep, just there. Yep,
Yeah.
sweet. That's great.
Yeah. I mean, again, attention to detail. It's what we know how to do. And then if you actually look in the middle of the forge key there, the actual patterns there are representative of something.
Yeah. So this will speak more to potentially the story of the forge keys, why there are forge keys, what they do in the world, and how they fit in the GTFO universe. Drawing inspiration from some of the movies that I loved as a kid.
Nice. There's a lot more lore at the background of this one as it comes out. There's some deep sort of lore
Yeah.
involved.
Yeah, I mean, we're not just going to make stuff and just throw it out there. We want to intertwine it with, the universe that we're creating. There is a reason why we have, 4 factions. There is a reason for the Forge Key, and how, and why we should even have the Forge Key outside that, they're going to offer great benefits for the holders. But like, there is a story element there that, connects to the factions and to the broader GTFO universe.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you're going to start seeing that, as we start dropping things such as, we've got some trailers in production as we speak. There'll be obviously things that we do to announce all of the factions coming out. Within all of the factions, actually, you can announce this, I guess. So for each faction, like I said, there's 12 in development, 4 of which we expect to have at launch. Within each faction, there'll be 5 different classes of heroes. So you're going to have a very broad range of heroes and units available for you, regardless of which faction you choose to go with. You will be able to mix factions within armies as well. So you may have an army which is, say, barbarians and empire, as an example. There may be, I'm trying to word this really, really coyly, but I'm basically just dropping alpha here. There will be benefits to having an army which is a single faction, but you as a player need to decide if that benefit outweighs the strategic advantage of having access to more units if you were to go, say, a mixed army of, like I said, barbarians and empire, or, barbarians and samurai, or something like that. So there's definitely going to be an interesting trade-off whichever way you go. There'll also be a variety of different both tournaments and just regular, like, quick matches and ranked matches that you can choose to jump into that are designed for different factions and different size of armies as well. So, for example, there may be a queue which is for small armies. So maybe it's just like one, limited to 1 hero and 2 or 3 squads. So if you just want to jump in, play a super quick match and just, bang, 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 and off you go, yep, that's for you. Then the other end of the scale, if you want to do these epic, and think like, Lord of the Rings or Rome Total War scale, just epic, massive armies clashing into each other, there'll be tournaments and events at that end of the spectrum as well. And maybe that is more where you would be having like a mixed army where, you have all your barbarians at the front, maybe the empire sort of sits behind them. or however you choose to lay them out. And then, yeah, obviously your heroes, every time they go into battle, they're gaining knowledge, and then you can then choose to train the AI tactics based on top of that. So yeah, it's a really, even from the testing we're doing at the moment with little GTFO, which I'll touch on that in a second as well. We're seeing a level of engagement within the team that is really exciting to see. Um, one of the stories that has always inspired me as a game developer was actually back when like the first Doom game was released. Back in, I think it was like '95. Like I'm showing my age here a little bit. Where like workplaces and universities and colleges had to ban the game because it was hogging the network and no one could get any work done. But also, no one was doing any work because everyone was just playing Doom all day on their work machines. And I'm seeing something similar. Like right now, we're building a proof of concept build called Little GTFO. It's basically, let's take all of the technologies that we know we need to get working for the game, and let's implement it in a very simple, bare bones. I don't want to call it a game because calling it a game is potentially misleading. It's not a full experience ready to go. It's very much a demo or a vertical slice. Um, but even that, like I'm enjoying just jumping in there, moving units around, hitting the play button. There's a little fast forward button, which is really cool because like as you watch all the armies like clash together, they also fall down, and like moving things around and seeing how it sort of plays out. And I've found myself like I'll be there in a meeting, and because I've got Unity just open 24/7. Oh, it's over there at the moment. But anyway, and like I'll be there in a meeting trying to pay attention. I'm like, oh, what if I just move this hero a little bit and see what that does? So yeah, the fact that we're already seeing that sort of like sticky engagement, and we're still nowhere near the final product, I take as a really optimistic sign that what we're doing is just gonna, yeah, it's gonna be amazing. And that's the thing, like I dropped like mentioning Doom and stuff like that. Like the team we have, we're an older team. Like I think we're all in our 30s at least. Nice, Draz. That's awesome. Like
Yeah.
we've been around. We've done this for a very long time. Like some of us have baseballs with our gamer tags on them. Like it's this is something we've been doing for a very long time. And yeah, we know what we're doing, and we know how to make a kick-ass, exciting experience. So yeah, I'm really excited for people to start getting their hands on everything that we're building.
Yeah, these little characters, once you get them in 3D, they look pretty sweet.
And that was the thing as well. We've had the conversations early on. Could we have done this in 2D? Absolutely. Would it have been easier? Would it have allowed us to, have bigger, more units on the screen? Sure. 2D it's easier than 3D. There's one less D. I mean, Johnny, you're the artist. You can probably go into way more detail why that's actually the case. But yeah, keeping it simple, it's a lot easier. Go.
Yeah, and I mean, if we like, yeah, we could have built this game in 2D, and we would have made a fantastic 2D game, but like, then we can't fly into the action. We can't fly in, to the characters and like zoom and pan around, the titans that are like stomping in and thrashing all the units. We just felt that like we had to have um, that dynamic camera come in and sweep through the battlefield. Like we're thinking, Lord of the Rings battle scenes, right, where you've got like units pouring over the hillside, coming into battle, and clashing with the enemies. So, I mean, yeah, it's going to be a lot of work, but I think, yeah, we're not here to F spiders.
I think we can
And
swear on our AMAs, can't we? I mean, I'm the CEO. I can make the
For
executive
sure.
call, right? We can swear on AMAs. There you go.
well, we're not here to fuck spiders. And Ray, yeah, your background that you threw up, right? These are like very prototype assets.
Yeah.
And at the moment, we're engaging with this super talented service provider, creating the trailer for us, creating the assets, the character assets that we'll have in game. And yeah, I'm super excited to pull all of this together. As Muddy said, there's a wealth of experience in the team across AI, gaming, effects, entertainment. I couldn't think of a better team to do this with. And as Marty shares the Unity screen now, like, I mean,
Nice.
as he's orbiting around and flying around, how much more cooler is that than, a static 2D view?
And
So that,
And
yeah,
can people do that in the game? Can they fly around their own camera
100%.
as the game is playing?
Absolutely.
Yep.
So there'll be two modes, one where you've got full control of the camera and one where we control the camera for you. So I'm just going to stop the screen share. There you go. Now, here's where that gets sexy. So let's say hypothetically that you had a full dynamic camera that we control in a game running on a deterministic game engine. Because it's deterministic, we can actually look forwards and see what's going to happen a few seconds ahead of what you're currently seeing on your screen. So imagine, for example, that we can look forwards and we go, oh, hang on, in 3 seconds, this whole 20 units right here are all going to die. We don't know what's going to happen, but we know something epic is about to happen at that spot. So the camera is going to turn and it's going to start zooming in on that particular spot. And then 3 seconds later, the big explosion happens or whatever it is, because the game is running off that. Again, all these pieces start to come together. Like I said, we've been working on this since 2018. you know so not only do we have this really cool camera mode where you can move around, follow your units, sit over, put the camera just over the shoulder of one of your titans and watch him like clomping forward into battle, but you can also just sit back, throw it on throw it on a screen share and put it up on your TV in the lounge room and just have the matches playing there and let us control the camera. If only we had a chief creative officer who's worked on frickin' Star Wars before. Oh wait, we do. He's right there. Let us give you this amazing cinematic experience where you just get to sit back and just watch this really cool game just play out in front of you. We were even talking about having a 24 FPS mode, like actual. So like if actual like a lot of old school movies were filmed 24 frames a second. That's that when you see old school like cinematic style effect. That's why older movies, and even some newer movies, look the way they do. We've talked about actually putting that in there and having it so you can literally like toggle this switch. Put like we can do some post processing on the camera, put a nice vignette. We'll control all the camera movements for you if you choose to, and then off you go. And again, because it's deterministic, we can do replays. Like doing a replay literally takes 5 minutes of work because we've put the effort in building the engine the way we have. So not only can you watch, you say Draz, you might watch a match play out with our camera, and you're like, oh, it was really close. I wonder what actually happened there. Go back and replay it. Have a scrubber so you can fast forward, rewind, play in double speed, all that sort of stuff, and follow. Maybe you had only one hero make it to the end. Cool. Follow that hero with your camera. See what happened, and maybe you realize by watching it, oh, he was just getting pummeled by arrows the whole bloody match. If only I could go talk to Ray and trade him for that tactic that I know he has that makes me really good against archers. So,
will the tactic trading be in game, or is that going to be on like a secondary marketplace?
everything. So that's a really awesome question, actually, and thank you so much for asking it.
Okay.
Everything that we are building in terms of on-chain activity will be fully accessible within the game client itself and will be obfuscated from the user that everything they are doing is on-chain until they choose to connect a wallet and engage with it. So we're going to work with whichever blockchain the game launches on, and you're not getting that one out of me yet. We're going to work closely with that partner to make sure that we have things like smart contract wallets ready to go. ERC 4337, if you want to look that up, you can see the actual technical spec of what we're working with, which basically means that when someone logs into the game, we create a wallet on-chain for them that we have control over. We can drop tokens, we can drop NFTs, we can drop AI tactics, and everything they're doing is on-chain, ready to go. So when you're a free-to-play player and you go into the in-game marketplace and you're trading tactics or heroes or whatever you choose to be doing, this is all happening on-chain under the hood. We pay the gas. It's all taken care of. You don't even have to worry about, you don't have to know what MetaMask is. You don't have to know what a private key is. You don't have to know what gas is. None of that stuff. At any point, if you choose to connect an external wallet, we will transfer everything out of the wallet we control over into your wallet, and we'll basically tell the game to look there instead. So you have complete control of your assets. The second you want to do that, that's completely up to you. The only catch there is when you do that, you will then have to start paying gas fees for some transactions because we no longer control that wallet.
And you can't go back the other way, basically.
No. Once you choose to take things out, it basically changes how the actual wallet is working in the first place. So at that point, but again, you know as well as I do, we're going to work with a chain where gas is incredibly cheap. If you're paying more than $1 a year in gas, that's a problem, and we don't want that. So we're going to make sure that whoever we partner with, we're able to take care of that for you. So there won't be any issues in that regard. But yeah, so the cool thing there is, as we bring new players in, everything's happening on chain. If we choose to, we could actually work with an external marketplace if they've got access to the right sort of like SDK or APIs. So what you're seeing in the game client when you go into like the LFG marketplace, what you're actually seeing is an external marketplace, but we're just controlling the experience for you within the client. You don't have to go to random websites. You don't have to connect to MetaMask. It's all just baked in, ready to go there for you automatically. So everyone who's playing the game, you're playing a Web3 game. It's all happening on chain. And then when you choose to take custody of your assets, you've got the option to do that as well.
Sweet.
So
sounds pretty good. I mean, there's so much to get into, I suppose, but obviously almost at the hour mark. But Johnny, in the general Discord and things, you've been dropping a series of panels, things, and that seems to be evolving. I think you've mentioned in there that that's sort of part of the trailer potentially.
Yeah. So that's the storyboard, right? So the storyboard is made of a number of panels, and I've been sharing that in the Discords for everyone that's following along. And the storyboard helps us visualize the story, essentially, right? Obviously, the story of the trailer that we're trying to tell, right? And so far, it speaks to like the heroes, because the heroes are an important part of the game. They are the NFTs that you will deploy into game that command these massive armies, right? And so we want to tell the story of like heroes coming together, coming to battle, and then escalating that tension, right? So then they bring in their armies, right? And the armies come together and they clash, and then we escalate the tension even further. So a lot of people have seen the dancing ice giant. He is going to be one of the titans. One of the titans coming in and clashing in with a opposing titan. So and here he is. If only everyone could hear the audio. The audio, I think, just.
I swear we take ourselves seriously, by the way.
Yeah.
I mean, is there no more funner industry to work in? But yeah, Draz. Yeah. So the storyboard that I've been sharing, they're all the individual panels, and we use this as like just kind of like rough sketches to ideate, to get a sense of timing, to get a sense of shot composition, and then from there we start looking into the 3D blockouts. Everything we do, we work in like kind of layers. We go super wide, really rough sketches, blockouts, prototype, really gray box prototype stuff, and then we narrow it down, right? I've got a super talented team, working on the trailer, and a lot of just what I'm doing is like just guiding the visual direction, and just being really antsy about minor details until we eventually get something that we're really excited about. And we should be able to share that trailer at 2049, which is not that far away.
Yeah, the team's been making awesome progress. And I know we originally didn't think we'd have it ready for 2049, but it looks like we're getting.
We should have some renders.
Yeah, and it's one of the I love watching you work, Johnny. It's incredible. Because like a clip will come through or a model will come through, and I look at it and I'm like, oh, yeah, that looks cool. And Johnny's like, no, they this is wrong, this is wrong, this is wrong. Change this, change this, change this. And like I know that feedback, like, it's why anything we put out there is going to be like, well, besides the dancing ice giant that isn't quite finished yet, but like anything we actually put out as a final, whether it's video, game asset, NFT collection, whatever it happens to be, it's going to have that just level of polish on it that, yeah, is just
Yeah,
inspiring to
and
see you do your thing.
and out of the gate, like let's be honest, the team is super talented, so they're already producing really, really great work. Like we're just refining it just to add levels of polish. So the anatomy looks good, the stylization looks good, proportions look good, so that when we add the characters in game, it's all readable. Um, all of the color palette works, and everything is like super cohesive. And when once we get to animation, that's then we start bringing things to life. Um, like we're working with a lot of like just very static T-pose assets. But like as you can see with the Ice Giant, like even when you just apply a little bit of animation, just it comes to life. It just makes it so much more real. But yeah, super excited to finally share that in a month's time. Once it's all together.
And you guys are having there's a pre-alpha sort of game play available, possibly at 2049 as well.
Yeah, so we're building a version of the game that, as I said, we call Little GTFO.
That's for
Like I
that.
said,
Okay.
yeah, please don't think of this as like, this is not going to be like a publicly playable alpha or anything like that. This is still what we would consider like a pre-production version of the game that we're building. But primarily we're building this one as a proof of concept to show that all of the various technologies that we're working on can come together to create this sort of experience. Which is great for us as well, because we would much rather hit problems now than 6 months, 12 months, wherever it happened to be, like further into development, and go, oh, hang on, the way we've done the AI doesn't quite line up with how we want to, present the training. So it allows us to sort of get on top of any potential problems really early in the process. But it also makes it much easier for us when we are having conversations with, potential investors, potential VCs, even community members. Like I'm hoping that we can show a bunch of stuff from Little GTFO. I'm not sure if we will make it publicly playable at this stage. It's definitely not what it's designed for. It's designed to be more of a showpiece that we can sort of walk around Token 2049 with an iPad Pro and go like, hey, let us guide you through this experience and show you what this game is under the hood. So yeah, it's very much that very, very early iteration of the game. It won't have menus, it won't have cool music, it won't have, like a nice login screen and, a reset password button or stuff like that. Like it's very much not a full finished product, but it is very much just designed to be that step in the direction where we can start to show people like, hey, oh, what's that? You've never seen an auto battler before. Cool, check this out and watch. It's so much easier to explain what an auto battler is when you can actually show someone on a screen. And when we're talking about things like the camera, for example, when they can, I'm holding the iPad, they can touch it, they can move the camera around, so they know it's actually really happening on the screen. We're not just showing them a video. Those sort of things make it a million times easier for us to actually explain what the meat and bones of what we're trying to accomplish.
Sure, 100%. All right.
I just saw a question come in from Drum Therapy. What kind of transactions are you expecting beyond the marketplace? Any risk to take self-custody control of assets, breaking the game experience, and causing you to bounce out of the after-sign transactions? Cool. It's a really awesome question. And I need to sort of preface this as well with, we are still very early in the process of integrating these technologies. Again, we'll be using Little GTFO as a test bed for all of this. And the UX of what we're building, the user experience, will always be at the forefront of what we're actually developing. Outside of like marketplace transactions, as I said, we're going to have various NFT collections. We are hoping to be able to do all of that secondary marketplace activity within the client itself, whether that be for like Web 2 or Web 3 players. It's all just sort of contained in the one ecosystem. All of your AI training, there'll be an on-chain element to that as well. As I said, all of the actual tactics are tied to NFTs, and there'll be like on-chain verification running through a system that we're developing. Again, don't want to drop too much around that just yet, to basically verify, like, was the training successful? What tactics have they learned? How does that affect the actual gameplay itself? So there's a bunch of stuff on the AI side that will be happening on-chain as well. With being able to take control of your assets, I mean, we see that as a critical part. If we don't allow players to do that, then you don't actually own your assets. It's kind of like me saying to you, well, you own this car, but you've got to park it in my garage every day. Well, then it's not your car. Like it's not 100% yours to do whatever you would please with. Um, and that's one of the beautiful things in Web3. Like there's nothing stopping our community if they wanted to taking our forge keys, our hero collections, whatever it happens to be, and build their own game on top of it, build their own, websites, their own tools, their own whatever they want. That's up to the community what they choose to do with the assets that they own outside of what we offer through our experience. We'll be doing everything we can to make sure that if you choose to take self custody, the experience you have is as close as possible to a like something we're able to do with smart contract wallets. I'm hoping we're able to work out a way where we don't have to bounce you out of the app to sign transactions. We know that's a horrible experience that no one really enjoys. So maybe there'll be some sort of way to set that up where you assign a certain amount of tokens for gas, or maybe we can figure out a way where we can actually cover the gas as well with external wallets. So like I said, we're working closely with people to work out the best way to do this, and we'll 100% be making sure that the UX, the actual just overall experience for the user, whether they are a traditional mobile free-to-play gamer or whether they are a native Web3 enthusiast, we're going to really make sure that experience is consistent and feels great. And obviously, we don't want to have a world where if you do take control of assets, that's something breaks or you don't have access to something that someone else would. So yeah, thank you so much for that question. That's a really good question.
Awesome. I mean,
Cool.
the one about forge keys there. I mean, that was very simply. It's just like a mint pass, isn't it? And but it's going to have a lot of uses, and even for future games potentially as well, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. So
Just
in the same way
very-
that in the same way that we're expecting the LFG token to be an ecosystem token across both GTFO and anything that the studio may or may not do down the road, Forge keys will have the same place. They are a reward and a high utility NFT for early adopters, people that choose to get involved early. Like I said, we're going to drop a lot more details around Forge Keys specifically alongside our tokenomics at Token 2049. The team's working hard on that to get that all lined up. I'm going to start writing some of my old school mediums again. They'll be all on the website. There'll be PDFs. It'll all be there ready to go for everyone. But yeah, Forge Keys, if you are interested in the game, for a variety of reasons. If you're interested in what we're doing with our hero collections with the different factions, if you're interested in the AI training aspect and want to have a better experience maybe for AI training, there's a myriad of ways. Even potentially, if you just want to have access to exclusive tournaments, exclusive events, early access to alpha, beta build, stuff like that. Forge Keys, there are a lot of really awesome reasons why people would choose to grab one of those if they want to do so. But again, it's also important to stress the point that while someone with a forge key might have a more enjoyable experience, we are not going to create a game where without a forge key or without a certain NFT or something like that, you can't enjoy the game in the first place. One of the really frustrating things for us at the moment, we're doing a lot of research into what other games are doing to make sure that if someone's come up with a cool idea, whether it be around play and earn, collect and earn, play to airdrop, whatever it happens to be, we want to make sure that we're studying that, seeing how their communities respond to it, and seeing if there's anything there that we can take and use within the LFG ecosystem. It's really frustrating when there are still games in 2024 that are gating access to the even maybe the demo behind an NFT that in some cases can cost 1 ETH plus. It's such a weird way of limiting the number of people that can engage and get involved in your ecosystem. I can't start to understand why someone would choose to do that compared to the approach that we're taking, where sure, these are going to really add and enhance on top of that base experience that you will have, but there's no reason why you can't get in and enjoy the game without them at the same time, because there are a small number of Web3 gaming enthusiasts globally, and there are a lot of games fighting for those people's attention. But there are literally billions of gamers around the world who would love to play a game like GTFO. And if I've got to choose between, trying to onboard a couple of hundred people or a couple of million people that eventually will learn Web3 and will learn the value that Forge Keys, Hero Collections, all that add to the experience, that's the approach I'm going to take, where we're going to bring millions of people in and show them a really awesome game.
Nice. All right.
Cool. Well, yeah, I mean, traditional AMA fashion, we've gone over time. Good to see that, some things never change.
Do you want to just mention the Forge? There's 2 Forge key giveaways, and maybe what's going on with that?
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I'll be spamming this all over all our socials for the next 24 hours. So if you've watched this live, or if you're watching this a bit later on YouTube, and it's less than 24 hours after this AMA was broadcast, so right now it's like the 13th of August, 11:13 a.m. Sydney time. So yeah, there's 2 polls running over on our Discord. And you can find the link on our website, which is lightningforge.games, just up in the top right. There's the links to all our socials up there. In the general chat, there is a poll which is asking, what is my coffee order? And I've actually said it twice during this AMA. So anyone who goes in there, I can see a couple of people have already voted. Maybe they've got the right answer. Maybe they didn't. I don't like flat whites, I'll tell you that much at least. Yeah, for everyone that votes correctly, that's a 24-hour poll running from now. And we'll do a lucky draw at some point once that poll closes for everyone who votes correctly on that one. And then for our OG community as well, there is another poll in their private chat asking, what did I show during this AMA that had my gamer tag on it? So yeah, 2 Forge keys up for grabs. Forge keys, when we do have their mint, they'll be minting for 500 USD each. So yeah, definitely worthwhile jumping into Discord and making sure you're in the draw for those.
Have you dropped the number of Forge keys that are going to be minted, or that's not known yet?
The total edition will be 3,333. Okay. Of which 10%, so 333, will be held by the studio for promotional use. So the ones we're giving away today, for example, come out of that 333, basically.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah. So
nice.
Yeah, again, that's all in our tokenomics with all the details around our NFT collections. For all of our NFTs, 10% will be held by the studio for promotional and giveaway and tournament prizes and stuff like that. So there will be tournaments coming up once we do launch the game where we give away Forge keys. There'll be tournaments where we do like hero NFTs and stuff like that as well. So yeah, definitely worthwhile getting involved in that. And I mean, if you watch the AMA, it's a pretty easy giveaway.
Yeah.
Awesome.
All right. Thanks, fellas.
Cool. Yeah, I mean, great to be back. Great to be doing these. We'll definitely be doing them on as regular a basis as we can. Definitely, we're trying to work out how we can do something live with the whole team from Token 2049, whether that's just from the hotel or live on the floor of the event. But yeah, we'll make the call on that a bit closer to them. But I mean, as we say around here, LFG.
Yeah, it's been awesome, guys. LFG.
Let's go.
Let's effing go. LFG. Awesome. Have a great day, everyone. And yeah, thank you so much for tuning in for our first Forge chat. First of many Forge chats I'm looking forward to doing.
Cool. See you, everybody.
All right. See you, gang.